6 warning signs of a stroke. Did you know that every 3.5 minutes, someone dies of a stroke? That means that in the time you're sitting and watching this video, somewhere in the world, another family loses a loved one. It's a figure that makes us shudder. On average, as many as 405 people pass away each day because of stroke. But do you ever wonder how many of them could have been saved if the warning signs had been recognized early? A stroke is not an immediate death sentence. It's like a silent thief breaking into the brain. If we understand the body's warning signals and act quickly, a life can absolutely be saved. The dangerous truth, however, is that up to 30% of people under 45 don't even know the signs of a stroke, let alone older adults who are already at higher risk. Do you truly know how to recognize a stroke when it unfolds right before your eyes? Before I share the 6 most important warning signs, I'd like you to do one small thing. Please hit the subscribe button, click like, and leave a comment below. If you find this information helpful, type the number 1 in the comments. If you feel you don't need it yet, you can type 0. Because who knows, this small action today might save you or someone you love tomorrow. Do you agree that being prepared is always better than regret? Now, let's move on to the most important part. In medicine, there's a key word doctors repeat over and over when talking about stroke. B-E-A-S-T. This isn't just a phrase, it's the golden key that helps us detect quickly and act in time. Each letter stands for a warning sign, and if you can remember them, you can become a hero in a life or death moment. But don't think this is just a dry theory. I'm going to share real patient stories, people who faced life and death moments simply because they brushed off a very small sign. And I believe that after you finish this video, you will never look at your body the same way again. So what is the first sign, and why is it so often mistaken for something entirely ordinary in everyday life? Are you ready to discover this first secret? Sign number 1, balance, loss of balance. Have you ever been walking normally around the house and suddenly felt as if your legs no longer obeyed you, stumbling as if you were drunk? Many people assume it's just fatigue, lightheadedness, or dizziness from standing up too quickly. But did you know this could be the very first sign of a stroke? Loss of balance is not just ordinary dizziness. When the brain is deprived of blood or when bleeding occurs, the regions that control movement no longer send accurate signals. That's why the patient staggers and cannot stand steadily. It's like driving a car when the steering system is misaligned. The vehicle wobbles and veers off course.
So what should you do if this happens? Don't rush to let the patient sit and rest or try to walk it off. Immediately check for other be-fast signs. And most importantly, call emergency services at once. Time is brain. Every passing minute, millions of neurons may die irreversibly. Do you really want to gamble your life or your loved one's life just because you think a little rest will fix it? The most important thing is never to be complacent. Even one brief episode of imbalance could be the signal of a storm inside the brain. And just by remembering this, you may save your own life or that of someone you love. But is loss of balance the only warning sign that is often overlooked? Not at all. There is another symptom that can appear suddenly, one that many people mistake for normal aging or tired eyes. What is it, and why can it cause someone perfectly healthy to suddenly lose part of their world? Sign number 2, eyes, vision changes. Have you ever been reading a newspaper or watching TV and suddenly everything in front of you blurred as if a curtain had been drawn across your eyes? Or worse, one of your eyes seemed to go dark, shutting off completely. Many people over 60 think it's simply aging, weak eyes, cataracts, or just a need for new glasses. But the reality could be far more frightening. This is an early warning sign of stroke. You see, when a blood vessel in the brain is blocked or bursts, the part of the brain that controls vision no longer gets enough blood and oxygen. The result is blurred sight, partial or total loss of vision in one or even both eyes. It's not like when you take your glasses off and everything looks fuzzy. It's more like a heavy door slamming down, cutting off part of your world. So if you or someone close to you suddenly experiences blurred vision, double vision, or sudden blindness, don't dismiss it as just old age or eye strain. Treat it as an emergency alarm. Call emergency services right away, because even a small delay could mean permanent blindness. Would you want your entire world to suddenly disappear just because of a moment's neglect? Vision is the window to the soul, the way we connect with life. Losing your eyesight because of a stroke doesn't just mean losing light, it means losing independence, joy, and quality of life. And what's alarming is that this warning sign is among the most ignored because everyone assumes poor vision is just part of aging. But now you know, it can be a matter of life and death. And if the eyes can send us a warning signal, so can the face. There is another sign that's very easy to recognize. Sometimes all it takes is a smile to tell the difference between normal and dangerous. Can you guess what it is?
Sign number 3. Face. Imagine you're having a conversation with a loved one, and suddenly you notice that their smile isn't as complete as it used to be. One side of their mouth droops, their face looks uneven, and even their eyes appear different. Would you assume it's just a crooked smile or fatigue? In reality, this could be one of the clearest signs that a stroke is knocking at the door. Scientifically, why does this happen? When the brain is deprived of blood flow, the facial muscles, controlled by the central nervous system, stop receiving full signals. The result is a drooping face, one corner of the mouth sagging, an uneven smile. It's like a light bulb that only receives half its power. The light flickers, incomplete and unstable. So, if you see a loved one smile and only one side of their mouth lifts or their face suddenly stiffens, don't hesitate. A simple test is to ask them to smile or puff out their cheeks. If they cannot do it evenly on both sides, immediately think of stroke. Would you risk losing your ability to express emotions, your very face, just because you dismissed the sign? The face is the mirror of the soul, where we share our smiles, joy, and love. To lose that ability simply because we ignored an early warning would be a tragedy. And you know what? If the face can sound the alarm, so can the arms. There is another sign that's very easy to check. Just ask someone to lift both arms, and the difference will be clear. Aren't you curious what the body might be trying to tell us through the arms? Sign number 4, arms. Have you ever seen someone holding a cup of tea when suddenly their hand trembles, weakens, and the cup falls? Or when asked to raise both arms, one lifts high while the other quickly drifts down uncontrollably? Don't dismiss it as muscle fatigue or aging. This may be a clear signal that the brain is crying for help in the midst of a stroke. Medically, why does this occur? When a blood vessel is blocked or ruptures, the area of the brain that controls movement of the arms and legs no longer receives proper signals. It's like a cut electrical wire. Without power, the light won't shine and the limbs lose their strength. Patients often feel heaviness, numbness, or weakness on one side of the body, usually in the arm or leg, so severe that they cannot control it. So if you notice that you or a loved one suddenly has weakness in an arm or a leg, unable to lift them evenly, immediately suspect stroke. Never try to reassure yourself by thinking, oh, it's just muscle fatigue, maybe I slept in the wrong position, because that delay could steal away mobility forever. Would you dare gamble your independence, your ability to care for yourself, just because of a moment's complacency? Our arms are not only for holding and grasping, they are symbols of freedom, of being able to hug your grandchildren, to perform simple daily tasks on your own. Losing that strength means losing a piece of life's joy. And if the arms can send us warning signals, so too can our speech. There is another very distinctive sign, one of the easiest to notice, when a person suddenly slurs, struggles to speak, as if their language is slipping away. Can you guess what the next sign is? Sign number 5, speech, slurred or difficult speech. Have you ever been talking with someone and suddenly noticed their voice sounded strange, slurred, jumbled, as if they had been drinking? Many people assume it's just fatigue, a dry mouth, or a brief dizzy spell.
But the truth is, when language suddenly becomes distorted, it can be one of the loudest alarm bells of a stroke. Scientifically, why does this happen? During a stroke, the areas of the brain responsible for language and expression are affected. As a result, the person may stutter, slur words, or be unable to find the right words. It's like a radio that was receiving a clear signal, but suddenly fills with static, the sound garbled and unclear. The listener becomes confused, and the patient feels helpless, unable to express what they desperately want to say. So if you hear someone suddenly slurring their words, struggling to pronounce, or unable to repeat a simple sentence, treat it as an emergency. A quick test is to ask them to repeat a short phrase like, "Today is a beautiful day." If they cannot say it clearly, think of a stroke immediately. Would you allow a loved one to lose their voice, the bridge of emotions and love, just because of a minute's delay? Language is how we connect with the world, how parents talk with children, how grandparents shared cherished memories. Losing speech means losing a part of the soul itself. And there is still one final sign, the most important one of all, the factor that decides everything: time. Because in stroke, every minute, every second is as precious as gold. Do you believe that during a stroke, every passing minute can cost the brain up to 1.9 million neurons? Imagine the brain as a city with millions of houses. With each minute of hesitation, thousands of those houses go up in flames. And once the fire spreads, nothing can restore them. That's why the letter T in Be Fast is so crucial. Time. Why is time so important? Because in stroke, treatment is most effective only within the golden hour, the first 3 to 4.5 hours from the onset of symptoms. After that, the damage to the brain becomes irreversible. The faster you act, the higher the chance of recovery.
The longer you delay, the heavier the consequences. So what must you do when you detect stroke warning signs? The only correct answer is, call emergency services immediately. Don't try to drive the patient to the hospital yourself, because ambulances not only arrive faster, but they can also alert the hospital in advance to prepare. Would you really gamble a loved one's life just to save a few minutes of waiting for an ambulance? Time is the difference between a life lived in health and a life bound to a wheelchair. You may forget many things, but never forget the letter T in Be Fast, because it is the key that unlocks the door between life and death. But perhaps you're now wondering, beyond early recognition, is there anything we can do to prevent or reduce the risk of stroke starting right now? Are there simple habits you can adopt every day to protect your brain, your heart, and your longevity? You've seen that stroke can happen anytime, without warning, and that every minute counts as if it were pure gold. But that doesn't mean we are powerless. On the contrary, did you know that up to 80% of stroke risk can be prevented if we change our lifestyle starting today? The real question is, will you choose fear, or will you choose a healthy, confident life with your family? In reality, preventing stroke is not complicated. It's not about distant or impossible goals. It's about small, simple habits that create a big difference. Keeping blood pressure stable, controlling blood sugar, eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, and getting enough sleep. These are the keys. Picture your body as a garden. If you tend the soil, water it, and pull out weeds regularly, the garden will flourish. But if you neglect it, sooner or later, it will wither away. What you need to remember is this: stroke is not the end. It is the body's way of reminding us that it's time to care for ourselves more. And when you know how to recognize it, when you know how to prevent it, you hold in your hands the key to extending life, staying healthy, and living joyfully with your loved ones. Remember, growing old does not have to mean living with illness. With just a few small changes, you can rewrite the journey of your own life. So, are you ready to begin today, right now, to protect your brain, your heart, and the future of your life? But before we end, I want to leave you with one important reminder. We have just traveled from fear to hope, but hope only has meaning when it leads to action. And the very first action is to share this information with the people you love. Because who knows, just one act of sharing may save a life. Don't you think that's worth doing right now?